It's fair to say that Hollywood is not falling over itself with good comedies right now. Long gone are the days of the 90s where you'd see hit after hit after hit. In most cases. Alas, that bygone era of being able to make a joke without the internet telling you a new one is gone. But once in a while, a comedy still comes along that gets you laughing and at points crying in all the right ways. And none more so than Taika Waititi's 2019 film Jojo Rabbit. This film packs punch, heart and genuine comedic chops. But before we get underway, we'd be so grateful if you could give the video a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about all our latest videos. We're pretty new here, so it would really help. But we're not going to beg. Please subscribe. Anyway, I'm Stephen from Unmissable Movies, and here are the top facts and Easter eggs about Jojo Rabbit. Spoilers ahead, obviously. The film opens with Jojo preparing for a Hitler youth camp. He feels some sense of hesitancy, but his imaginary friend, Hitler, works him into a frenzy until he's ready to go. The young actor playing Jojo is Roman Griffin Davis in this breakout role. He beat 1,000 other audition tapes to get it, and he does an incredible job of just holding the film together. Before he leaves, his mother Rosie, played by Scarlett Johansson, ties his shoes, a visual reference used throughout the film. But this isn't like a Tarantino foot fetish thing, this is done for an entirely different reason, and we'll come back to that. As Jojo leaves, we hear the German language version of the Beatles' I Wanna Hold Your Hand, which was released on February the 4th in 1964 in Germany. The Fab Four actually did most of their early touring in Hamburg, so has recorded a number of songs in German to connect with that audience. This scene also subtly parallels Beatlemania with the Nazi fanaticism of the time. Another noteworthy detail that's striking about the opening, and indeed the whole movie, is the very bright colour palette Taika Waititi used. He found in his research that World War II Germany was very vibrant and fashionable, and he wanted the tone to be celebratory even though under the surface, the Third Reich is crumbling and, you know, the dream is over. During Jojo's training, we're introduced to Sam Rockwell's character, Captain Klenzendorf, and he has a brilliant downbeat demeanour throughout this entire film. He said that in addition to having a dialect coach to learn the accent, he watched veterans like Marlon Brando and Ray Fiennes portraying World War II era Germans, but ultimately decided his character would be more like Bill Murray with a German accent. After Jojo's grenade accident, we again see Rosie. The director goes to great lengths to ensure the audience can identify her shoes, which culminates in one of the greatest sucker punches in film history. We'll come back to that. On the character of Rosie, Taika Waititi said, "It wasn't until I was a grown-up and had kids of my own that I realised, oh, these parent people, they make a lot of sacrifices. It's really hard raising a kid." And this is his tribute to single parents everywhere. We soon discover that Rosie is harbouring a Jewish girl named Elsa after Jojo discovers her. This relationship really is the heart of the film, as both she and Jojo lay down the assumptions they have made about each other. Waititi has actually known Thomasin McKenzie since she was very little, as he's friends with her parents from New Zealand's theatre scene. He tasked her with watching Heathers to give her the vibe he was looking for with the character. In this scene, we also see Jojo's sister Inga's ballet slippers, shown with her name inscribed on them, which continues the theme of focusing on shoes throughout the film. With Elsa's introduction, composer Michael Giacchino almost calls back to some of his work in Lost, using music that would be more at home in a horror film. This represents the fear that Jojo has towards her, and indeed all Jewish people. As things progress, we see more and more clues that Rosie is against the war, as we see her and Jojo stood at the gallows in the town centre. Jojo asks her what the hanging people did, to which she replies, what they could. This of course foreshadows her own fate. At one stage we see Rosie burning small propaganda papers, adding to Jojo's suspicion of her. The wording on them in English means "Free Germany, fight the party," meaning fight the Nazi party. We then see Rosie and Jojo walking along the canal talking about love. This helps Jojo ultimately understand his own feelings towards Elsa later in the film, and we also see yet another shot of Rosie's shoes. The framing of her shoes and Jojo is almost a like-for-like shot of the heartbreaking scene later on. Next we're introduced to Dirt, played by Stephen Merchant, as he arrives at Jojo's house. The Office co-creator said he imagined members of the Gestapo, like his character, as petty bureaucrats who, prior to the war, received little respect and, during the war, let the power go to their heads. When they arrive, they go through their greetings in which every individual has to say Heil Hitler said to them and returned. It's said 31 times in 1 minute. Taika Waititi wanted to indicate the stupidity of this Nazi protocol. This scene also shows Captain Klenzendorf seemingly ignore a detail that should have led to Elsa's capture, but he mysteriously accepts the incorrect detail he gets from Jojo's sister's paperwork. Then we move on to the most gut-wrenching moment in the entire film that shows Jojo following a butterfly in the town square. The camera stays with him as he follows, but then, as he stands up, we see the reveal of Rosie's shoes hanging from the gallows. It's only then you really realise how much you recognise her shoes. This is such an impactful moment, and the young actor does a stellar job conveying the emotion of this scene. It's also interesting having Jojo following a butterfly, an insect which starts its life as a caterpillar before having to go through the struggle of the chrysalis before freeing itself and flying away as a butterfly. This could mirror Jojo's own journey, starting the film as one thing, going through a painful journey, and then coming out the other side free of his projection of Hitler. Anyway, the whole scene is not for the faint-hearted. As the film comes into land, we see the Nazi army falling apart as Elsa and Jojo grow closer together. We see Jojo walking through the town, observing the harsh realities of war as people die in front of him in the final battle of the movie. But even then, the director manages to find moments of brevity. Captain Klenzendorf appears wearing an outlandish uniform akin to the one he had sketched earlier in the film. We also see him save Jojo from American soldiers, another act of heroism from this character. There's a pretty strong inference throughout the film that he is gay and therefore he would have been at risk in Nazi Germany just as the Jewish people were. An interesting detail that you wouldn't have noticed earlier in the film is that he has an Iron Cross first and second class award, both given for personal acts of heroism. A bronze close combat clasp, signifying that he's fought in a minimum of 15 hand-to-hand engagements. A silver tank destruction badge awarded for individually destroying an enemy tank with a handheld weapon. And a gold wound badge, meaning he's been wounded in combat at least 5 times. So this character, who had acted heroically for the Nazis, turns out to be the main hero against the party he once served. After Jojo is saved, he returns home and lies to Elsa, indicating that Germany won the war. But he soon comes to his senses and arranges for Elsa to leave, not before tying her shoes and completing that artistic device used throughout the film. We then finally get a nice bookend with David Bowie's Heroes in German playing us out of the film as the Beatles had done at the beginning. Thanks so much for watching. If you can think of any details we missed, please add them in the comments section below. Again, if you could like and subscribe, that would be great. Maybe even share it on Bebo and MySpace and TikTok. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.